from RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. We are just days removed from President Trump's visit to Indianapolis. The president used his first visit to Indy since shortly after his election win to promise big reforms when it comes to your federal taxes. The president wants to double the standard deduction for married couples filing jointly to $24,000. He also wants to expand child tax credits. His plan would lower the top individual tax rate to 35%. It would also cut the corporate tax rate to 20%. A budget watchdog group says the president's plan would cost the country more than $2 trillion over the next decade. The Trump administration disagrees, arguing the economic growth generated by the cuts would reduce the deficit. The president said low taxes and less regulation have led to a powerful competitive edge in the state of Indiana.
All of this is possible because the people of this state have made a decision. They chose to make Indiana competitive again. They chose, and their choice was so important, it included electing a governor who you may have heard of, who signed the largest income tax cut in the state's history.
The president used this speech to directly lobby one Democrat in particular to support his tax reform plan. Trump issued a threat to Senator Joe Donnelly, stronger words than we heard from Vice President Mike Pence in recent weeks. Trump vowed to return to Indiana to campaign against Donnelly next year if he votes against the plan. Donnelly told the ABC affiliate in South Bend that Trump's comments didn't surprise him and they will not influence him.
When the president says something like that, President Trump is just like something you expect. For me, it didn't bother me at all because I don't work for the president. I don't work for the vice president. I work for the people of Indiana. And so my entire decision is going to be based on whether this helps the middle class and whether it creates more jobs in this country. And so it's not about what's said and where you fly to. It's about, does this make people's lives better?
Donnelly says he is still waiting to see more details of the tax plan before making a decision. Indiana's Republican senator appears to already have made up his mind. Todd Young says Trump made a convincing case that his tax reform package will lead to more money in the pockets of Hoosiers. He also predicts a different outcome in the Senate than the failed GOP effort thus far when it comes to health care.
Unlike health care reform, which dealt with all sorts of difficult questions about how we're going to allocate care and who is going to pay for it, tax reform, if we can just focus on growth and ensuring that all boats, as it were, rise with the tide of a growing economy, I think that will unify Republicans and Democrats.
While critics of the tax package are focusing on cuts that would benefit the wealthiest Americans, Young is promising a plan that will help lower and middle-income Hoosiers. Strong words from a Republican congressman this morning on the Senate's failure to pass a health care bill. I asked Congressman Luke Messer what he thinks the correct path forward is for health care.
Well, what we learned here in the last couple of weeks is that the Senate is broken. You know, it's not okay to promise for 7 years that we'll repeal Obamacare and replace it with something better, work at it for a few weeks, shrug and walk away. We need to keep that promise. And the number one reason we need to keep that promise, Katie, is because Obamacare has been bad for middle-class families. Let me give you a statistic. 150,000 Hoosiers last year paid taxes and penalties under Obamacare that made less than $50,000 a year. That's working families. And then you combine that with all the families that have seen their premiums spike to as much as $1,000 a month for a policy with a $10,000 deductible. It's unaffordable. And then just in the last few days, we heard the announcement that premiums on the Obamacare exchange in Indiana are going to go up by 20%. It's unacceptable. We can't stick with the status quo. So I believe you'll see the health care debate continue.
Is it fair, though, to only say this is the Senate's problem? Republicans, not just in the Senate, in the House and the Senate, have been promising to repeal and replace this. Are you willing to work across party lines? Are you willing to work with the Senate to try to come up with ideas?
Well, we did pass a plan in the House, and we got it to the Senate. We didn't get it out of the House as fast as I would like to have seen us do it. Maybe if we'd have passed it a few months earlier, this could have passed in the Senate. The bottom line is Obamacare repeal failed in the Senate by 1 vote. There were a couple Republicans that voted against Obamacare repeal, but our Indiana Senator Joe Donnelly voted against Obamacare repeal as well. I'm glad to work with anybody who's going to help us provide more affordable health care to working Hoosiers, but I have to tell you, there's been a lot of talk about that across the aisle, not a lot of action.
When do you think this will get done, realistically?
Well, taxes need to get done before the end of the year. I'm hopeful that health care will happen either yet this year or early next year. And again, I'm hopeful because I talked to thousands of working Hoosiers that are hurting under the existing system.
A local veteran is making national headlines, and here's why. He took a knee as the president's motorcade drove through Indianapolis on Wednesday. The veteran's name is Marvin Boatwright. The 60-year-old Army veteran runs a funeral home business on North Keystone Avenue. Boatwright got down on his knee while carrying an American flag when the president's motorcade drove past him. His actions mirror what several NFL players have done this past week during the National Anthem. Boatwright talks about what inspired him to quietly protest and why he thinks taking a knee can be patriotic.
Number one, because the national discussion about being able to have the right to protest, it seems the protest, the kneeling, the taking a knee, stood for social injustice. And I wanted to make a dramatization that you can be a patriot. You can love this country. You can love the flag. And taking a knee is in no way protesting against our government or the flag. And so I, as a veteran, held the flag to show that dramatization. I knew the motorcade was passing, and so I wanted them to see me.
His story has gone viral. The Huffington Post and CNN have both covered his demonstration. IPS continues to move forward with a plan to close and convert a number of schools. The IPS board has approved a plan for all choice high schools with a focus on college and career-themed academies. Students will choose their schools based on their field of interest versus geography. And we now know who will take over as principal of the 4 high schools next fall. Arsenal Tech, Crispus Attucks, Shortridge, and George Washington Community High Schools will remain open next year. Hundreds of students and teachers will also be impacted by the closure of an Indiana online school. Hoosier Academy's virtual school will close next year. The Hoosier Academy's school board decided not to seek renewal despite operating under a new improvement plan and seeing progress. This comes after the virtual school was at risk for state takeover due to consecutive F accountability grades. A spokesperson says the board did not feel the current academic data was good enough to pass the, quote, rigors of a new charter application process. The virtual school will close in June of 2018. A program that allows students to do both online and classroom work will stay open. This week, the association that represents liquor stores announced that it supports Sunday alcohol sales, though with the caveat. The Indiana Association of Beverage Retailers put out this statement saying it supports Sunday sales, but with strong regulations that allow for access while ensuring that it does not get into the wrong hands. The liquor store lobby supported a Sunday sales bill during the legislative session 2 years ago, but that was only after an amendment was added that would have forced grocery stores to place liquor behind a counter to be sold. Up ahead, the controversial decision by Colts players and others around the country to take a knee during the national anthem. Is it about race or is it about politics? Our insiders discuss.
Only on RTV6.
Ready. Okay. Welcome back. We are joined by our political insiders, conservative Abdul Hakim Shabazz, Democrat Laura Beck, and retired Indy Star State House reporter Mary Beth Schneider. Thank you. Wanted to start with the controversy over taking a knee. We saw the Colts members of the team among the latest that did this. Is this about race? Is this about politics, or both?
I think Trump made it about race. I do. Yeah. And because he singled out first Steph Curry for not wanting to come to the White House. He did not do the same with Tom Brady when he didn't come to the White House after their championship. And then sort of resurrecting an argument that really had died down, because this started about 2 years ago with Colin Kirkpatrick. And I completely understand the need to respect the flag. I can choke up at parades and military flyovers. The Star-Spangled Banner can bring tears to my eyes at the right time. But it doesn't really mean anything if it doesn't mean that you aren't forced to do this.
I think, though, with Trump, and I don't know, maybe, I think you and I might be on the same page today. I think the issue with Trump is that he takes these steps to divide our country when his backup is up against the wall. And Trump is in a situation right now where we're talking about Russia. We're talking about potential influence by foreign agents in our election using social media. We've got folks on his team who are using private emails. The White House has been asked for just troves and troves of documentation related to Russia. You've got Puerto Rico, which is inhabitable at the moment, as well as people who are living in substandard conditions because of the hurricane, and he's not doing anything, or had not been up until that point. And then you've also got the Graham Cassidy bill failing. You've got folks on his staff who are flying around on the public's dime on corporate jets. So instead of dealing with those issues, or even North Korea for that matter, instead of dealing with that, he picks these incredibly divisive issues as a distraction. So we're not focusing on what he's not accomplishing as our president, or how we even work together to solve some of these problems that we're faced with.
I'm one of those rare full of people who actually supports the athlete's right to kneel. I don't know necessarily if that's the best forum in which to make a statement about whatever social injustice you feel is going on. Now, with that said, I think the situation was probably getting ready to die down until the president decided to get on Twitter, and all it did, like y'all said, just amped it right back up again. And then what was only just a handful of NFL players, it became the whole league, because it's sort of like, I jokingly say, it's Article 5 of NATO. You attack one of us, now you attack, you know, all of us. Like I said, the good news is, looks like a lot of this stuff is dying down, so we can go on to the next thing that really doesn't matter to get distracted over.
And one of the things is that some people have said, well, it's not the right forum, or that you should not do, you shouldn't take the knee. Kaepernick was sitting until a veteran talked to him and said, you know, more respectful would be to take a knee. That, you know, and I don't know that you get to, that the rest of us get to pick and choose the right time for someone to protest. Again, that is what I think the United States is about, is the freedom of dissent. That's one of our great virtues.
Well, and I'm probably one of the first, I mean, I know I would probably surprise all of you as the Democrat in the room, but I'm probably the first person to roll my eyes when Hollywood folks and actors and actresses are you know, talking about medicine or politics and things like that. But that certainly is their right to do it. And I think we also have to remember that with these athletes, they do have a platform. And for an athlete like a Steph Curry, for example, this is somebody who does some pretty tremendous work in his community, who is a role model, at least to my 9-year-old, and to millions of other 9-year-olds out there. And so when you do attack somebody like that, and you're Donald Trump, it brings you to this level that I think makes a lot of people really uncomfortable, and makes people stand up and defend their rights.
To me, the most uncomfortable thing about this entire incident, like I said, you know, athletes have a right to kneel, fine. This still doesn't change anything in the grand scheme of things. However, when the government starts exercising its authority, saying, no, these guys should be fired. We're not talking about private citizens expressing their opinion.
That's true.
That's when we should all start to be worried, because today it's your First Amendment rights. What if it's the president, your Second Amendment rights, you know, or your 14th or Fifth Amendment rights? When the government starts saying that you should lose your job and livelihood because you are exercising your constitutional rights, that is something that should worry and scare all of us, regardless of party, regardless of philosophy.
Well, and the one thing that spoke volumes, not to interrupt you, the one thing that spoke volumes.
It's just her show.
Well, I know, it's just her show. Was Jerry Jones taking the knee. That was a pretty monumental moment with the Dallas Cowboys when they took the knee ahead of the game at Monday Night Football. And the fact that I'm even watching Monday Night Football is sort of surprising to me. So there you go.
Minute left. Sunday sales is next year the year. We just heard from the packaged liquor lobby that they will support it with restrictions. You think this happens next year? You think it's going to be some time?
Let me put it this way. As much as the packaged liquor store people have fought this issue tooth and nail since I've been in Indiana, for them to say now we support Sunday sales, they should start selling laxatives because they're full of crap, to be honest with you. because those guys have done nothing, but they fought Sunday sales tooth and nail. They put out studies. They had their people come and testify. Sunday sales would kill their small towns. Basically, what they're trying to do is save their rear ends because they know Sunday sales is coming. They're planting the flag on cold beer.
I just really don't have anything to say after that. I mean, what can I say?
I'll drink to that.
You'll drink to that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wrap it up. Thank you. Thank you for those thoughts. Up ahead, Erica Fly's latest stop on 6 in the City and a new campaign to help the homeless in our community. We'll show you ahead.
October 3rd, Muscles Bacon on ABC.
I'm Erica Fly, and 6 in the City is going global, giving you a taste of the international marketplace.
From fish, shrimp, octopus, scallops, crab legs, shrimp empanadas with cheese. We're more like a Mexican seafood from the Pacific coast of Mexico.
Cuisine from all over the world.
Sweet potato belly. It's called yassa. That's what we eat Africa.
Is being cooked up on the northwest side of Indianapolis.
El Puerto de San Blas.
It's Medina Restaurant.
It's the international marketplace.
It was the best place for this restaurant.
A diverse 12-block corridor.
All together in one area.
Featuring a wide variety of ethnic restaurants.
The chicken yassa, excellent.
Offering a multicultural food experience.
I'm able to expand my palate. I don't have to go very far.
20 restaurants have special meal deals for a 2-week Savor the International Marketplace event.
You can try a lot of food for a little.
Let's dig in.
Taste authentic dishes.
Oh, that's good.
Learn what goes into it.
It's nothing chemical added. All of them is natural and healthy.
Get an all-around global experience.
We want American people to know about our food, our value, our culture.
The history alone of many of the restaurants is fascinating, and the food will leave you wanting more.
We want them to come back.
The very first Savor the International Marketplace is underway right now and through October 15th. Check out their website to see the 20 participating restaurants in the Lafayette Square area on Indy's northwest side where you can get special meal deals. We have a link to it at the hot button at theindychannel.com.
Well, it's a new way to help the homeless in our community and address the issue of panhandling downtown. Instead of giving money directly to the homeless, you're urged to put money into a meter. Derek Thomas explains.
Eventually, there'll be 20 meters like this located around the city where you can use your credit card to make donations to the homeless.
I rarely have any cash on me to actually donate when they ask, so that's a way that we can contribute. It'd be great.
One of the goals of this program is to reduce panhandling. Nelson Robinson sits at the corner of Illinois and Washington Street with a sign that reads, "Please help with some change. God loves you. God bless you. Thank you." He says on a good day he can get about $5. He is skeptical of the new initiative.
I don't know where the money goes. And they say they're going to help the homeless. We don't see the results or nothing, what they're planning. They don't give us no idea what they're doing with it.
According to Steady Reach Indy, the money goes to 75 to 80 different organizations that offer programs to uplift the homeless. That's why the public is being encouraged to use the meters.
If you want to have, if you want your funding to be used well and you want to have real results, you don't give it to somebody on the streets. You give it to this program or a program like this so that we can actually provide genuine services. Because giving money to somebody on the streets doesn't help them usually get off the streets at all.
Myself, I get turned off from panhandling, but I still believe that there's a real homeless need. And so I separate the two. Panhandling from a homeless need, and if this is directed to a spot where homeless people are getting the assistance that they need, then I think that's a good tool.
One element of the program is that 3 times a year panhandlers will be surveyed to determine how many there are, where they are living, and what issues they are having that keeps them homeless. Derek Thomas, RTV6.
You can join the conversation and follow us on social media. Check out the Indy This Week Twitter handle and be sure to like our RTV6 Facebook page. Up next, Lauren Casey is here with 6 things happening around town in the week ahead.
Let's light the night.
Well, our forecast is all about high pressure. We've been on the cool side for a while, but now we're going to start to see the temperatures warm up as more heat and humidity finally moves its way into central Indiana. We could actually really use the rain. Now, as far as when that will arrive, well, that's going to take its time to get here. Any system that gets developed is pretty much scooted to the north. At some point, though, we will see a front get organized, and as it does so, it'll get a little bit closer, maybe a little moisture out ahead of this, but again, it's going to take its time before it finally arrives and gives us a chance for any rain. Ahead of this is all warm air, and it means our temperatures are going up in a big way. That will start today with the warm-up continuing, temperatures into the mid-70s. Overnight, not quite as chilly, so these mid-70s that we're expecting during the day, cooling down into the 50s overnight, mid-50s. When does that warmer air arrive and how long does it stay with us? We'll take a look at some of the numbers here. We're talking about numbers into the 80s. Rain arrives Thursday, stays with us through Saturday.
Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Lauren Casey. It's time for the 6, so let's take a look at 6 things coming up this week in Indy. We'll grab the kiddos for a spooktacular time at the Children's Museum. Their annual haunted house is the longest continually running haunted house in the U.S., and it's back this weekend and throughout the rest of the month. You can explore 15 wicked rooms or the Wicked Woods for a frighteningly good time. Shop till you drop for a great cause sounds like my kind of day. Head on up to Clay Terrace this weekend. Go to the former Kincaid store. There you'll find a shopper's paradise, the annual Parisian flea market. This shopping event benefits Fairhaven Foundation. That's an organization that provides free housing to people and their families who are staying at our area hospitals. Central Library is turning 100. You can celebrate this Saturday from 11 until 2 p.m. by helping to open a time capsule there. They also have a number of fun events that day for the entire family. Well, the streets of Fountain Square neighborhood will be filled with the sounds of music. The Fountain Square Music Fest takes place Friday and Saturday. Along with the 60+ performers on 5 stages, you can also enjoy local cuisine and craft beer. Well, he was number 18 on the field, but number 1 in our hearts. Peyton Manning's likeness will forever be remembered here in Indy thanks to a new statue in his honor. The unveiling will take place at Lucas Oil Stadium on Saturday. His jersey will be retired at the game against San Francisco as well this weekend. Plus, join all of us here at RTV6 as we light the night. We're taking a lantern-lit walk all around the canal here in downtown to raise money to fight blood cancers. You can sign up for this annual event that helps support important cancer research right now. That's what's on tap this week in Indy. Back to you.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you for joining us this Sunday for Indianapolis This Week. Our team hopes you have a great week ahead.